Outgoing President Don Schiefelbein spent the past year representing cattlemen and women all across the country. This convention offers us a chance to say goodbye and thank you for a great year of service to the beef industry. Early last year, we took a closer look at what life is like for Don back home in Minnesota.
The lake country of central Minnesota is where Don Schiefelbein grew up, working alongside his dad, mom, and 8 brothers. Founded in 1955 by Don's dad, Frank, the Schiefelbein family farm has grown dramatically.
Well, it's a family operation consisting of 7 brothers, 5 nephews, and all their wives, etc. So it's a large family operation. Sitting here in central Minnesota, we have about 6,000 acres. We run about 1,000 cows in the spring and another 100 or so in the fall, so 1,100 cows. And we feed out cattle here, so we're pretty diversified. We'll feed out 5,000 to 10,000 calves here on the place as well.
Don's parents still live on the farm, enjoying their family and staying involved. Don believes his dad's innovative thinking is one key to the operation's success.
Simple things like how to feed cattle, he said, boy, wouldn't it be a lot smarter and wiser, instead of having the bunks on the inside of the pens, to have bunk line fences on the outside. So in 1950-some, he said, I'm going to put bunks on the outside. He is one of the very first up here in the Midwest to have bunks on the outside of the feedlot. And so that made a world of sense. And everything he's done, I think, has transferred to me and to my children as well, saying, boy, if there's a better way to do it, let's look at it. Let's not be confined to the way things have always been done.
As a result of that effort to always get better, Schiefelbein Angus bulls and females are prized in the marketplace today. And the family has continued to offer value to their customers with a calf buyback program that was started more than 25 years ago.
So every decision we make here, we either gain or fail ourselves as the result of the mating on the cattle we buy back. And if we make a mistake breeding an animal, we're ultimately the ones that pay. So we're paying a lot more attention to making sure they're bred right. So from a commercial cow-calf standpoint, you can imagine the sigh of relief they have knowing that the genetics they're buying are being kind of backed up by somebody with real dollars and cents saying, these cattle have to work or we ultimately have to pay. This is where we feed all our buyback calves. And the advantage here is when you put all the dollars we do into genetics, the reason we have this kind of barn where everything's covered is we take the environment out of the equation, right? So everything that's on display here is the result of how they do genetically, and therefore we can figure out to our customers how they need to improve genetically based on how we market their calves. Every individual calf in here will be marketed based on its own merit on a value-based grid. Then we'll summarize customers by their calves and give them basically a scorecard back that says, I did this for quality grade, I did this for yield grade, my feed conversion was this, my growth was this, etc., and allows them to fine-tune, if you will, their selection for their next round of bulls to fill in the needs for their next year's calf crop. Because we take the environment out, we're able to get these animals to perform at levels that we haven't been able to historically. So we'll get all these calves that by June to weigh 1,300 pounds or more. So the equivalent is they are 13 months of age, weighing 1,300 plus pounds and already being marketed to town.
After college, Don worked for Texas A&M Extension and then for the Limousine and Gelbvieh Breed Associations before returning to the family operation in 2003. Since then, he's served in a variety of leadership roles with the Minnesota Cattlemen's, as well as for the Angus Association and as an officer for NCBA.
If you are going to be successful, your industry must be successful first. So if you aren't willing to put the time and effort into making that industry successful and serving that industry, then it's basically going to be a potluck whether or not your industry survives. So we've been very fortunate that we've had enough people that we can put efforts towards involving people in lots of different areas. And mine happens to be Angus and NCBA. I like to tell people I'm the blue-collar NCBA guy. I'm the guy who still gets his hands dirty, still drives the tractors, and I tell you what, if it wasn't for Bluetooth, I don't know how many meetings I'd miss, because Bluetooth through the tractors is where I do a lot of my meetings, etc. So that's kind of the background I come from. And what I believe, and I come from more of a servant-style leadership, where I really believe that if you listen closely enough to members, you're going to find the answers. So running a family operation our size is very similar, I believe, in that you listen a lot, you make sure everybody has their say, but you make sure everybody does it in a respectful manner so that we can all move forward together.
Going forward, Don sees great opportunity for the U.S. beef industry in a variety of areas, including exports.
U.S. beef is the blue ribbon, right, across the whole world, and it's because we're grain-fed beef. We are the premier product that everybody wants from every corner of the earth, and we're blessed to have the resources here in the United States, corn, to make that beef so valuable. So from our standpoint, pushing our beef out to the world is the next platform, right? And you can see just with the growth right now in U.S. beef demand, it's incredible.
With the experience he's had on his own family's farm, Don sees value in sharing the sustainability story of U.S. beef production.
Sustainability at its core is about doing things better and doing things more efficient. If you look at genetics, there is no means to do things better and more efficient than through genetic work. And so it's the quickest, easiest way to get to where we can be way more sustainable. It wasn't a generation ago when you used to feed out animals like this, and it would take you 2.5 years to get them to market. With our genetics and with our buyback coordination with our customers now, our goal now is to have every animal harvested at 13 months of age, weighing over 1,300 pounds. Boy, that is super sustainable from an efficiency standpoint, from a nutrient use standpoint, and that really has been a game changer in terms of allowing us to reduce our carbon footprint.
As he looks to his year as NCBA president, Don is serious about helping to lead NCBA's fight for policies and a business climate that supports cattle-producing families. It's all part of maintaining the opportunity to make a living on the land.
To me, I just sit in awe at how many people have the opportunity to do something they love to do and would love to do every day and do it with their family by their side. There's just not many places in this world that give you that opportunity. And you do it in the United States of America, where you have the most freedom, and boy, there's days that you just look up and say, God, why me? Why did I get blessed with this? And it truly is a wonderful, wonderful experience.
And joining us now to talk about his year as NCBA president is Don Schiefelbein. Don, I'm curious, what are some of the things you're most proud of over the last year?
Oh, I mean, it's this NCBA, this cattle industry, is such a huge ship. And getting everybody to kind of sail or go in the right direction, boy, that's the challenge, right? And I believe we've made a long strides towards going on the same ship, going in the right direction. So it's amazing to me to see people, when you go from one end of the industry to the other, when you go from one coast to the other, how we can come together and come say, hey, this is the path we want forward for our industry.
And I really appreciate both the leadership and the rhetoric you've provided in that all-for-one kind of message. You've had a chance to talk to a lot of people as you've traveled around the country. I'm curious, what are some of the key learnings that you've had this year?
Well, they're sick of the infighting. They want people to work together, to cooperate, to get along. And when you look at it, it makes financial sense to cooperate and get along. And I think that's kind of the prevailing message. And I know there's some issues that are a little sticky, and sometimes we don't always agree. And I think if we can come together, and it seems like we are, that, boy, we can discuss issues. That doesn't mean we have to yell at each other, be angry at each other, but let's come out with the best path forward again.
Don, I remember reading an article you wrote, maybe last spring sometime, talking about the enemy within us and relating it to some of the family experiences you've had in your operation. I think it's something a lot of us can relate to. Tell folks more about that for those who may not have read that article.
Well, too many families and too many organizations concentrate on what I call wedge issues. Those are issues that, I mean, they're very complex and smart people may absolutely disagree on what the right answer is, and that's okay, but we can't use all our energies fighting these wedge issues. We need to figure out what we can do to pull the sled together, get in the direction we need to go. Otherwise, we do that in potentially harming circular firing squad, right? We're doing more damage to each other than going in a cooperative spirit.
That's very well said. Now, earlier in the show, we visited with Congressman Glenn Thompson, who, of course, is chairman of the House Ag Committee. Why do you think it's so important for NCBA to be so involved in the crafting of this next farm bill?
Well, especially as we move forward with the legislators that we're dealing with today, is they don't know our industry nearly as well as we've had some in the past. So it's very important that we make friends, begin to tell our story, and make sure they understand what our priorities are. And of course, our priorities this coming year are how can we do the livestock risk management program that allows more people to be able to take some of these ups and downs in the markets away and allow them to be successful in their operation, regardless of their size, whether they have 1 cow or 1,000 cows.
That's a great point. Now, we're kicking off a convention. It's going to be a great week here in New Orleans. What is the value of this event to the beef cattle industry at large?
Well, I like to say it's invaluable. When you get together and you start to visit with the likes of the who's who of the beef industry here, if you can't take something home from this convention that makes you either a better businessman, a better cattleman, or just a better steward of our resources, you haven't been paying attention, because that's what it's all about. The relationships we've met, you and I have met here, 20, 30 years ago now, right. And look at the relationships still going. So to me, build those relationships, decide where we're going to go from a path forward, and start doing things for the beef industry together.
Don, we're looking forward to a great week. Thank you for your service to our industry and the leadership you've provided.
Thanks, Kevin.
To keep up to date on the issues facing beef farmers and ranchers and to help make a difference in the industry, why not join Don as a member of NCBA? It's easy to do. Just call 866-233-3872, or you can visit the website ncba.org.